Good morning, brothers and sisters. Here we are, fourth day of the Feast of Tabernacles, 2025. There are 7 days in the Feast of Tabernacles. So this point right now is the very central part of your feast. I hope the first half has been as good as mine. It has been a meaningful feast for me. And since we are at the heart of the Feast of Tabernacles, let's turn to the heart of the Bible. Turn to Psalm 118. I heard a sermon quite a few years ago that this is the center chapter of the Bible. And if you go down to verse 8 and verse 9, I've never counted all these verses both ways, but that's a reliable source, I think, that these are the central verses of the Bible. And listen to what it says in verse 8. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. And 9 is much like it. It says, it is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in princes. Now, the word Lord, if you notice, is spelled all in capitals, and it will be as we go through this morning message. And of course, when we see Lord, all capitals, that stands for YHWH, or Yahweh, the great, eternal, one and only God. No matter what you think, he has that place reserved for himself. He and his Son, Jesus the Christ. And it's fitting, I see, that Psalm 117 is just before the central part of the Bible, and it has 2 verses. You read those later. And Psalm 119 is the longest chapter of the Bible. It has 170 some verses, but we will not read that here this morning. But I encourage you to read it all. It's a long read, Psalm 119. Now, but suffice it to say that Psalm 119 has many songs that were written from it. Many of the songs we sing came from 119. And it is filled with the songs and wonderful messages. And it is filled with wonder. WONDER, wonder. But we are here to start in the middle, since it's the middle of the feast. And it says that it's better to trust in God. You know, looking back on the Israelites, when they came out of Israel, they saw the wonder that God performed. God just led them through the sea. It opened up and they walked through it. And when they got through, they sang a song led by Moses, of course, because Moses was a wondrous man. Let's go to Exodus 14. Exodus 14. Start down in verse 30 of Exodus 14. So the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Thus Israel saw the great work which the Lord had done in Egypt. So the people feared the Lord, and believed the Lord, his servant Moses. Now, they feared the Lord. It doesn't say they trusted the Lord. It doesn't say they loved the Lord. Now, love and trust are not synonymous, but they go hand in hand. One leads to the other. So let's go on over to Exodus 15, which is right across the way. Drop down to verse 22. Exodus 15:22. So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea. Then they went out into the wilderness of Shur. I don't know what Shur means, but it sure was dry out there. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. 3 days out. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink the waters of Marah, for Marah means bitter, and the waters were bitter, so they couldn't drink them. Therefore the name was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? So he cried out to the Lord, and of course, you know, the Lord gave them water, because Moses took the branch of a tree and he threw it in the water, and miraculously it was sweetened. All right. But we go right on down to about 6 weeks after they crossed, they again started murmuring. And the word murmur, it means the same as grumbling. They grumbled. And so the Lord gave them manna, and he gave them quail to eat. But you know, in looking at the Israelites, I think their shortcoming, I'm not a judge of Israel. I'm not one to say what they did or was right or whether they loved the Lord, but they did not demonstrate any love for God. They demonstrated much criticism. Now, and to make up for all that, the Israel, especially the Jews, made up a bunch of laws. They made up so many laws they had to have lawyers to keep up with them. But I submit to you that life doesn't have to be this complicated. It does not need to have all those laws. And of course, Christ came and he straightened out a bunch of those laws. And several years ago, I was in a play in the Noose Little Theater in Smithfield, North Carolina. I don't do that much anymore because I'm aging up. I don't have the memory to remember all those lines. But we did a play called All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. If you ever get a chance, go see the play. If you don't, look it up on the internet and read it. Because it boils down to all I really need to know I learned in kindergarten. Now, those things, there's 13 things that Mr. Robert Fulgham, who wrote that play, lists. First is share. 2 is play fair. 3, don't hit people. 4, put things back where you found them. 5, clean up your own mess. 6, don't take things that aren't yours. 7, say you are sorry when you hurt somebody. 8, wash your hands before you eat. 9, flush. 10, warm cookies and cold milk are good for you. 11, take a nap every afternoon. 12, hold hands and stick together. And 13, be aware of wonder. So today, this was all an introduction, by the way, so settle back. So today, I'm going to bring you a kindergarten lesson in spiritual life. But first, let us go to Matthew 4:4. Just keep this in mind as I hack through the scriptures we're going to read. Matthew 4, verse 4. This is when Satan's been tempting Jesus Christ and saying, you can turn all this rocks into bread if you want to. You won't have to be hungry. But Jesus said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. So bear in mind as we go on through this little message that I'm not saying that you shouldn't read and believe every word that's in this Bible, but we are going to boil it down from all those rules that have been made. So let's go to Ecclesiastes 12:13. Ecclesiastes 12, verse 13 says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Read that again. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. That being said, let's go to Deuteronomy 10, 12 through 13. Deuteronomy 10, starting in 12. And there's a little subhead in my Bible that says the essence of the law. And now, O Israel, what does the Lord your God require of you but to fear the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, to serve the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, and to keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I command you today for your good. In other words, these were written not for God's good, but for our good. Now, Israel, out there in the dry desert, they couldn't bring themselves to trust God. And as I said, they added a bunch of laws to make up for those that they didn't believe. And the reason they didn't trust was because, as I see it, they didn't love. Like I said before, I'm not their judge. God is. As I said a few sentences back, life does not need to be this complicated. Let's boil it down to 10 that God gave to Moses on Mount Sinai. Go to Exodus 20. Exodus 20, and we start in verse 3. Now, I'm not going to read all these 10 commandments. You see right here, there's 10 commandments. They all are valid today. They have never been any of them done away. And people, this is just an aside, but you talk to people who say, well, I keep the Sabbath. And they say, well, Christ changed that. He fulfilled the law. So if he fulfilled the law, we don't need it. Wrong. Christ fulfilled the law by living the law.